welcome to fmtraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. Welcome, glad to have you all here. I'm here with the wonderful Jonathan Ray, a senior engineer of many years at RCC, and we're always happy to have him on talking about a variety of subjects. Today we're doing performance. So today we're doing secret number 2 to FileMaker database speed performance with Jonathan, which is awesome. I believe we're covering conditional formatting, which can be a hot topic. Real quick, if you'd like to support the channel, we have our bundle options. So every once in a while I get people going like, hey, Margaret, the live streams are super cool, but but I don't really find the format works well for me. It's too long. People interrupt with questions. It's more interactive. It's not as organized. That happens sometimes. This is what I recommend for people who want to go do that, because a lot of times people are looking for very specific answers to very specific questions. Can FileMaker do this? How do I get it to do this? How do I get it specifically to do this one tiny thing I need it to do? And this is kind of your answer. We talk about FileMaker Pro, Server, WebDirect, Go. All that is in these bundles. There's over 100+ hours video content. I tallied it up a while back. It's substantial. There's a lot of options. This option comes with FileMaker if you don't have it already. And then this one has all of the video courses and calendar kit. And this one has the 3 primary video courses, which I believe is Go, Pro, and Server. So that all being said, I think we're probably good. Jonathan, what are we doing today?
All right. So we have I don't remember the last time I was on here. It had been a couple months ago, I'm guessing at this point. But it was on speed performance, right? So your FileMaker database is slow, and we were talking about unstored calculations and how they are not your friend if you can avoid them, right? And so if you want to go ahead and catch up on that, that's probably the number one culprit of a slow database screen. Okay. What we're going to talk about today is conditional formatting and portal filters. Both of those are awesome features in FileMaker, but they're also, I'll call it the number 2 way as to how your database can become very slow very quickly. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of a very slow screen because of conditional formatting. Then we're going to kind of repair it as we go. Okay, so that's the idea. And I think this will be helpful even if you don't have a rollout of FM starting point. This applies to your database, right? Because most database screens are going to have some type of conditional formatting, and sometimes you have portal filtering. So just because FileMaker gives you this ability to do something doesn't mean we should always do it in every case. And when we do it, we need to be doing it a specific way so as to ensure that it goes fast, because we can make it very fast and still achieve the same things we want to do. So this will make sense as we go along here. Should I start sharing the screen?
Yep, that sounds like a good
All
plan.
right. So you should be seeing that there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it says conditional formatting and portal filters. So I'm putting the portal filters in parentheses because it's kind of like a footnote on this discussion. If you master these techniques with conditional formatting that we're going to be talking about, they apply in the same way to portal filtering. So if you understand one, you understand the other. Okay, so we're going to start out first. Well, let me show you the demo here. Okay, this is a fresh copy of our product, FM Starting Point, our free product that you can download from fmstartingpoint.com. Okay, so I cut this copy today. I loaded it with a bunch of test data. I want to show you, first of all, that we have a bunch of products in there. It's like 10,000 test products. And you can see that it's a whole bunch of crazy numbers that, it's not real numbers, but it's good for our test purposes. You can see the amount of this product sold, the profit margins on it, and so forth. Okay. Then I also loaded up a bunch of contact records and invoice records. The bad thing about this invoice screen, watch what happens. This is a file that is being hosted on one of our servers. So it's out there in the cloud right now. I'm connecting to it over the wide area network. When I click on this invoices button, here's what happens. I get what Nick Hunter calls your new friend, the spinning wheel, right? Um, and what you can see here, if you're familiar with how this like used to look, let's pull this up. This is the invoices screen without any conditional formatting at all. Okay. Watch how fast this is for me going from record to record, again, connecting to this file over the wide area network, meaning the file is not sitting on my desktop somewhere. It's not local. I'm connecting to it over the internet. So um, I can almost go as fast as I can press the button. It's loading that fast. Okay. So I think we could agree that this is a fast screen. This is an optimized screen. Okay. Um, and that's what FileMaker can give you is a very fast product. But then when we start adding some of these cool features, like conditional formatting, like portal filtering, um, and then your database starts getting progressively slower, what happens a lot of times in the mind of your end user is, oh, FileMaker is just slow. But it has nothing to do with FileMaker. It has to do with how you built the file that you're using with FileMaker, right? So it's not the product itself, it's the engineering and the techniques that you use to engineer it. Okay. So this is the fast layout. I'm going to hide this for a second. This is the layout that I have all sorts of conditional formatting applied to. So you have a little red dot here if like a warning signal almost if this is an overdue invoice. That's pretty good, right? And then I'm going to explain all the different conditional formatting stuff over here. We have some with the bill to name. And here's what happens when I try to go to the next record. I'm waiting. Okay. And I'm getting the spinning wheel. I don't know if that's coming through on Zoom. Spinning wheel.
It is not, but we're seeing how agonizingly slow it is to swap between records.
This one here, that one took about 5 or 6 seconds. Okay. Most of them are taking about 5 or 6 seconds, sometimes 10, depending on the amount of line items I have here. Okay. And as I'm going through, it's also taxing the server. Okay. Because it's loading an incredible amount of information with just these conditional formatting features. And again, the more records I add, especially to the products table, the slower this will go to the point where at some point it's just unusable. It'll spin and spin and spin until it just hangs indefinitely. Then you're force quitting FileMaker, opening it again, trying to go here and trying to like do workarounds where you don't have to flip through records and you're doing all sorts of crazy things. Then you're force quitting so many times that you're corrupting your copy of the FileMaker application and things just get bad, right? When things are this slow. But you can have everything that you want here with the visual aspect, okay? And you can have it this fast. Boom, 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 right? But there's a technique to it. And I'm going to show you a couple bullet points. First, we're going to start with the first bullet point here is consolidate where possible. So if you remember this word consolidate, and then I'll show you what I mean by this. Let's drop into layout mode. Okay, so again, this is the slow layout. When you have conditional formatting applied to an object, okay, let's say you have a button here, and we'll draw our new button. All right, it's thinking. Okay, and let's say that's on my other screen here. Let's call this, why can't I call it anything? It doesn't like that at all. Okay, I don't know why. Let's just choose a random logo here. Sometimes Zoom interferes with kind of day-to-day operations of FileMaker. I don't know why. So if we have a button here or a field or some other type of object, you can always right-click and go conditional formatting, or you can come over here to Format Conditional. Both will do the same thing. Okay. So if I come here, right click, conditional formatting, you get this dialog that comes up. It's basically asking you, okay, you want to color this or format this or have it appear in a certain way under what conditions? So I say add. I say, okay, for some reason I want this button to, um, let's say I want it to have a red fill color, like a warning type of color, whenever, let's say, the status equals active. Okay, so if this invoice is not paid, it's an active status, then I want it to appear red. Otherwise, it's going to appear how it normally does. So if I hit OK, go into browse mode, that's going to spin and spin because this is a slow layout. Okay, so because we have an invoice with an active status, it's lighting up red. If I go to one that has a paid status, after it spins and spins, then it's going to display in its normal color. So just at a real basic level, I needed to explain that's how conditional formatting works, where you have things appear or not appear in a certain format, bold text, red text, blue text, italic, underline, change the font size, all that type of thing. When a certain thing is true, and then you can add multiple conditions. I want it to display red if the invoice is this, but if it's this other thing, display blue. If it's this other thing, display green, etc. So I think we're probably all on the same page with viewers of this live stream, but just in case you didn't know what exactly we're talking about, that's conditional formatting. You'll notice here that when conditional formatting is applied to an object, you see this little red and blue looking icon. I can zoom in. Yeah, okay. You see that there in the lower right-hand corner. Anything with this little icon means that it has something with conditional formatting applied. Okay. And if you're not seeing that, I think you can go to View, Show Conditional Formatting. If I turn it off, now I don't know what has conditional formatting applied and what doesn't. I'm going to turn that back on. Show conditional formatting. Okay. Now I'll go back to a normal size. We'll get rid of this. So you can see that we have some formatting on this status, little ribbon on all three of the fields. On this little dot here, we have it on the bill to stuff. And then we have it all over the portal. All right. So what do you do to start out? If you have a sneaking suspicion that the conditional formatting is a problem on your screen, that it's slowing things down, the first thing that you do here, okay, is you come here to layouts and you make a duplicate. Okay. Then what you do is you select all the stuff that has conditional formatting on it. Okay. Come here, conditional formatting, and I will delete it all. I think that applies to everything. Let me see if that's true. No, I have to do it one by one. Okay. Um, so what I'm going to do here, and all I'm doing at this point is testing to see if my suspicion is right. Is conditional formatting a problem here? So I'm just going to remove all of these fields because this is a duplicate copy anyways. Okay, anything with conditional formatting, this button has conditional formatting on it. I'll remove that. Okay. I don't know why it's not letting me delete it. There we go. Okay, and I'll remove the conditional formatting here, right? Delete that. All this other stuff. I'm just going to get rid of the fields. that have it on there. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this guy. And then I know that these are not slowing it down, so I'm just going to leave them. Okay. So now I've gone through everything that I can see visually, at least, that has conditional formatting on there, that has the little icon. And I've either removed the formatting or just removed the field entirely. Watch what happens. I'm in browse mode now. Now here's what happens when I start flipping through. Boom, 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 boom. So that way you know, there's the test, right? Now you didn't do that on your live layout. You're not wanting to destroy your live invoices layout. So you make a little duplicate, you do your experiment there, and you're like, yep, we have a problem. Okay. And it has to do with conditional formatting. Now you can experiment a little further on this, make another duplicate of the live layout, and just remove one or two of the pieces and see if they're the main culprits. Okay. Some conditional formatting is not slow, and it's a good thing that you have it. I mean, it's a great tool to use, so you don't have to remove all of it. Uh, but at least you know, okay, we have a problem. It's related to this specific thing. That same thing is true with portal filtering. Let me go into layout mode. So if you have a portal like this, okay, move this over here. And this little checkbox is checked, filter portals when it's like filter portals under this condition, and you write this calculation. Filter when, let's say, quantity is greater than 0 or something, right? So you're filtering, all these lines will disappear under certain conditions that you're telling it. Okay. Let's say I hit OK. And if this is on and your screen is pretty slow, okay, what you want to do again is on this copy, uncheck that, okay, and see if it makes a difference. That doesn't fix everything, but again, it at least tells you that, oh, if I can start flipping through really fast on this screen now, then I need to take a look at this issue. Okay. So before I continue on there, Margaret, that's probably a good stopping point to see if we have any questions on that so far. If not, I'm going to continue in and start digging in here.
Yes, I do have some questions. Conditional formatting taxes the server? Question mark. Isn't formatting performed by the client? Does the server get pinged again only if the data needs to evaluate the condition isn't already sent?
Well, what I've seen, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my experience here, okay, if you have some of this stuff happening, conditional formatting or portal filtering, I believe that some of it is offset by the server somehow. Okay. And I may be wrong there, but what I do know is that when when I have a terrible screen like this and people are flipping through, right, and it's just spinning and spinning and spinning, if you go to the admin console of your server and you want to take a look, you're going to get spikes, right, where it is taxing it to some degree. And you may be very right that most of the impact is done at the local client level and not on the server. But I believe your server does take a hit, at least to some degree, on this. So other server experts can correct me on that, but at the very least, the at the client level, it's taking a big hit.
There's another question. 5 fields with the same condition or 5 fields on a slider and the slider has the condition. Does that make a speed difference?
Yeah, so we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here.
Ah.
You're reading my mind, okay? All right. So I'm going to show you a couple tricks on this as to, achieving the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So what we'll do here, because I think we're all caught up there, we're going to delete this layout. Okay. And then here is our fast layout. And then I'm going to pull up. Do I have the other one? Yeah. Okay. And here is our slow layout here. Okay. We're going to take these one at a time. We'll identify why certain things are slow, and then we'll go from there. First, remember the first trick, the first tool or strategy to look at is trying to consolidate where possible. Okay, so let's look at what's going on. Go into layout mode again. You see here that we have 1, 2, 3. I don't think this one is quite the same, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields on this portal. All of them have identical conditional formatting on them. So if I come here, okay, I'll go into like what this is doing first, later, but you can see there's 3 conditions, and all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them have those conditions on them. Okay. Now, without even telling you what this is doing, and it's very bad what it's doing, we're going to correct that later. But without even seeing it, right now you have to be thinking, is there a way that I can consolidate or combine these 7 into one? And this is what I would do if you absolutely had to have these fields light up under certain conditions. What I would do is this. You come here and you make a button, okay? And this button is not going to do anything. It's not going to be tied to anything, okay? And then you send that button to the very back row, okay? Or the very back of the portal. Okay, here's what I mean. Let's just like color this gray for now. Fill a light gray for now. Okay, so it's all the way at the front. I'm going to select all this stuff. Okay, bring to front. Okay, we need to make sure that's firmly on the portal. It is. All right, and then we bring this to the front. Now we have a solid line. And what I would do, instead of having every single one of these elements having the same exact piece of conditional formatting, like you want this line to highlight under certain circumstances, you can achieve the same thing by applying that conditional formatting to that button instead. Okay, let me just do this really quick. Okay, and I'm having to move all this stuff on this screen, so I'm just doing this as fast as possible. Okay. Conditional formatting. Okay. Add. This is the green one. And then this is the third one.
You're doing it on the other screen, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
So it's flipping back and forth to this other screen.
got it.
Okay. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then one last thing I think I did wrong. Got that. Okay, and this one here. Okay, now this isn't sized exactly how it should be, so then we make it sized a little bit better. It's probably still off. The Okay, I think that should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then what we do here, this is our working fast copy. So I'm just going to take the fields as they were before, these ones. And I'm going to copy paste those back in. Okay. Come back to FileMaker. Okay, I'll remove these. Or I'll just put them over to the side at least. If you put fields with conditional formatting to the side, it does not affect the performance. Conditional formatting only slows things down when it's visible. That's one thing that's very key. Now, why you would want conditional formatting on something on the side, it doesn't make sense, but just so you know, that is possible.
If you have to shuffle it off for some reason, you don't have to worry about it affecting the...
Correct.
Cool.
Correct. Okay, so now we have our fields that don't have any conditional formatting on them. This one still does. I'll talk about that. Now I've consolidated all seven into one. Okay, let's look at what this does. And I'm going to make this thing appear white or transparent if it doesn't have anything going on. Okay, now you see here, it doesn't necessarily make it buzzingly fast. Okay, but now if I start flipping through, it's not it's not as slow. Like most of my speed problem was just solved right then. Now it's still too slow. It's way too slow. But what you saw is that, using our imagination and saying, okay, instead of having seven different fields lighting up with this like kind of pink, reddish color or yellow color under certain circumstances, how can I achieve the same effect but with less impact on my system? And what we did is we just combined all that stuff by putting one element with conditional formatting on the portal row. Okay. This exact thing isn't going to work everywhere. But if you are thinking down the road of, you are thinking along the line of how can I consolidate, you might find little areas where you're doing the same thing multiple times, right? So if you don't need the same visual indication more than once on the screen, just have it once, right? And it's a very easy fix of making things faster. Now, is it blazing fast yet? No, but it's a lot faster than what it was. And so we'll go into the next thing. Okay, any questions on that before we keep going?
Sounds like that's another troubleshooting strategy. Move the conditional formatted off the layout to see impact versus
Yep,
removing them or removing formatting.
that's correct. Yeah, so if you want to duplicate your layout to do a test to see, okay, is the conditional formatting making this thing go slow? What you can do is move all those objects that have formatting applied to them over to the right, out of view, that is over there where no one can see them, and then go into browse mode, start flipping through the records. That's another way of doing it without having to delete those fields off of your duplicate copy. Okay?
Yep, we got one more question.
Yep.
Is there much difference between formatting an additional button versus grouping the fields and formatting the group?
I'm not a big grouping sort of person. Other people really like the grouping aspect. I think it's probably going to be the same effect, whether you're uh, formatting a group or formatting a button. I'm just guessing there's not really going to be a speed difference there. You can do both, either or. Yeah. Okay, so let me continue on here. So the second thing, um, when the second area on this screen, you notice that we used our imagination on how can we consolidate seven of these things with the same formatting calculation into one. And we did that through the use of a button in the background. Well, the same thing happens here. Okay, so watch this. All these bill to, name first, last, etc. Here's what's happening. If I go to conditional formatting, what's being set up here is it's saying if self, that's something you can do in conditional formatting. It knows that the thing being evaluated, in this case, the name first field, if that first name is different from the contact's name first, then it's going to display in red text. Okay, so let's do that just so you can see. Okay, I'm gonna new window. Okay, and I'll go to this person. Okay, let's change her name to Billy. Okay, and now what you can see here is it's highlighting red. That's actually useful in an invoice. If if say you created this invoice a couple weeks ago or something, and some user has gone in there since then and changed or corrected the company name or the contact's name, and it's no longer whatever this is, it's now Billy, right? You don't want to send that invoice out to a contact that doesn't exist or it has a typo or something. You want the updated information. So having it highlighted in red is a good thing. Okay, the problem here is that this is inherently slow, and it's inherently slow for a reason. Go into layout mode. Here's why. This gets into a second point here. We'll go on the PowerPoint, consolidate. We'll talk about hide conditions in a second. It's this third point, local references. Okay, so you think about when you're making a local call on your cell phone, it means that it's someone in your local area. A long distance call, you're a lot of times you'll be charged more. There's certain rules when it comes to making a long distance call or an overseas call, right? You'll be charged more by your cell phone company. The same is true with FileMaker. On local references, it does not cost you very much. Okay. By local, I mean if this conditional formatting calculation is referencing a piece of information, a field, let's say, in the local table that this layout is on. In this case, if this conditional formatting is referencing something in invoices, T12 in this case, then it's not going to cost us very much. But what it's doing is it's making a long distance call. Okay, it's referencing the contacts table, which is one relationship away from invoices. This is basically this has basically become an unstored calculation that you put on your layout. Okay, that's what happens when you're referencing a related field instead of um, a local field. Okay, so anytime you can get away from doing that, the better. Now, a really quick way, okay, to do this, not what I'm saying is, I'm going to show you a way to make it faster, but we're still going to leave this in here. Okay, so it's not going to be the fastest, but it'll be faster. Let me show you how to do it. Okay, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these fields all have the same kind of conditional formatting going on. Okay. But it's not like we can consolidate them all because they're all referencing a different related field. So this company field is not referencing the contact's first name, it's referencing the contact's account name, so forth. So we have to use our imagination here on, we don't want 7 or 8 conditional formatting elements, making long distance calls every time we load the record. And we can't really combine all of them like verbatim. So how do we do this? One way of doing this, okay, is if you have a calculation, let's say you have a calculation field that has first name, last name, company, address, city, all of these bits of information all combined together. Okay, so that's one field, one local field. And if you have that same calculation on the contacts end, okay, you had contact name, last, company, address, city, state, zip. So you have 2 calculation fields now. Okay, what you could do is have like a little indicator up here. Um, where is it? Yeah, I'm going to take this guy. Okay, and let's say you have like a little red dot. And we're not going to go ahead and create the calculation field because there's other things we need to get into. But let's say that we had a calculation field. Okay. Bill to, let's say we're just checking the name full. Okay. If the name full does not equal the name full from contacts, contact name full, then show up in red. Okay, so we have a little red indicator dot. On the next record, that's going to go away, or it should go away. Let's see. Maybe I chose the wrong field there. 1 second. Okay, contact name full. The same thing? No. Okay, I'm not referencing the right field. Let's just do the first name so that you don't have to wait on me figuring all this stuff out. Okay, fill to name first, and this will be name first. All right, so we don't have a red dot on that one. Where's the one that we were on? Let's see.
The name
There
was
we go.
Elton. There it
Oh,
is.
there
Yep.
we go. Okay, so we have Elton here. Um, and so again, we're not going to do the entire thing here, but what you could do is have a calculation field, right, that combines all of this information, first, last, company, address, city, state, zip, and then in contacts, you would have the same thing. You would have a calculation field that combines first, last, um, address, city, state, zip, etc. And then this little dot here, you would compare the two. You would say, if this thing in invoices, this like clump of bill to information does not equal the same clump of contact information, then highlight in red. Like give me an indicator that, hey, you need to change this name around. Okay. And then that way we can literally get rid of all the conditional formatting here. Okay. Let me go back to our fast screen and just like copy paste this in. 1 second. Okay, 302. All right. And get rid of that. Okay. And that's about where it was. Okay. Now, none of those fields have conditional formatting on it. Now, it's not going to give you the same exact result, right? It's not giving you highlighted red on every single field, but you're still getting a visual indicator that says something is off here. Look into it. Okay, so let's see how fast that or not that made it. Okay, we're still at kind of the same speed, but this is something that we just showed we could consolidate and it was helpful. Okay, now on this, we talked about local references. Here's what we want to do. I want to show you how crazy uh, this piece of conditional formatting here and here is. Okay, here's what's happening. Conditional formatting. What is actually going on that was making things so slow? Here's what's happening. Specify. What we're doing is it's highlighting in yellow if, okay, I'm going to explain this craziness and go from there. It's highlighting in yellow if this product on this line item is in the top 10 selling products, and if the product is active, and if the date of the last invoice for this product is within the last year. Okay, so it's showing the user here that this line item, okay, on this invoice, this is a product that is one of our more popular products, and it's active, and we've sold it in the last year. If that's helpful for you, and you really, really need this, this is not the way to do it. Okay, here's what's happening. In order to get that result, and the next one down here is the same thing as this, except it highlights it in green if it was sold in the last like 30 days or something. Okay, here's what's being referenced. It's saying, all right, get me the list of all the products in the entire system, and then compare that list of products with the ID product that we're on. So it finds the position of it. It says, all right, is it in the top 10 or not? in order to tell if it's in the top 10, it had to evaluate almost 100,000 products. So it goes through a list of 100,000 products, finds the one it's on. Okay. All right. So let's say that that is true. Then it goes on to the next item and it says, well, if this list of if this same product, okay, it has to be active and it gets this whole list of products again. So it's now evaluating 200,000 little values, right? And then it comes here and it says, looking through another relationship, making a long distance call, okay, it's saying, is the last invoice that was issued within 365 days of the current date? Now, all that's fine, okay? Like actually having a line highlight yellow if you really wanted to. In theory, having a line item highlight yellow and seeing products under these circumstances is theoretically fine. But this is not the way to do it because what we're doing is not just making like a long distance call. We're making like several out of country calls, okay, per line item, and we're doing it one time and two times, and then we're making another out of country call to see if the product is active, and it's doing that, okay, for every single line item that we're looking at. So the first line item, okay, it is now evaluated over 200,000 values, tried to find the right spot, tried to make sure it was active and, within the last 365 days. Then it does it to the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, all the way down. And when I scroll down in the portal, it's having to play catch up. It's having to do it now for the lines that it's trying to display, right? It hasn't even cached all that data yet. And it's trying to do that again for every single line. And beforehand, before this live stream started, it was doing that times 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at least we've consolidated it, but it's nuts, right? It's crazy how this is being set up. And there's a way to make it super fast, but give us the same result. So let me stop there. We may have a question.
So I'm having a question because I'm like, well, this is about where I'm at in terms of education. So is that why you said earlier that every time you added a product to products, that it would make the invoices conditional formatting even worse because it's comparing?
Right. So here's the thing. When I was loading the test data up for this live stream here, I only had like 86 products. Okay, 86 is not a whole lot. And it was performing fairly fast. Okay, like I mean, it wasn't good, but it wouldn't keep me up late at night. Okay, having nightmares about it. This would when I added a bunch of products, and it may not have been 100,000. It may be something like 10,000, and that's not a ton of records. Okay, FileMaker can handle hundreds of millions, but when you're referencing an entire list of all the records in the entire table through a different table, referencing it multiple times on multiple elements, and then just to display it in red or something, it's not the way to go. Okay, so how would we get this same type of result? The same type of thing is happening here. So on the quantity, this is a really good, in theory, conditional formatting. Okay, in red, it'll display in red if there is not enough quantity in stock, right? That's a good thing to have on an invoice. You don't want to send an invoice to a customer promising them to deliver a product that it's not enough stock to fulfill this, right? It'll highlight yellow if after this invoice is issued, then the stock needs to be restocked. It's not quite out of stock, but it'll trigger a restock level. Those are two great things. But again, it's looking at products through invoices. It's not a local call that it's making. It's a out-of-state call. And these things here are out-of-the-country calls. Okay, that's the way I'm trying to describe this, where it costs you a lot when you're referencing these things. So what can you do here? There's a couple things. So one, we talked about if you can have local references and you're referencing local fields, that's the best. Okay. The second thing here is cache is king. Here's what I mean. So cache, when a piece of data is cached, in this case, it would be something like instead of making that out-of-state call, you have brought that information over into invoices where it doesn't have to call out of state. Okay. So down here, the subtotal price, the sales tax rate, the tax, the margin, all this stuff, they're not calculation fields. Okay. They're cached fields, meaning they're just regular old number fields. And a script, anytime that a line item is added or removed or changed, it triggers something on this record to update this information on the spot right then. And so it does that initial calculation and then caches the data so that it doesn't have to evaluate it or calculate it every time you flip the record. Okay. That's the same kind of thing we would want on this portal. So how would we get the same result? How would we cache that information? One idea is that maybe you would put a button up here that would say like check or something. And it would cache the data you need into local fields. And then your conditional formatting would not have to reach into products to get that info, right? So it would be a button that you'd have to manually click to get the latest highlights. Or maybe you set something up, right? Here's the last point in your workflow. If you can rethink the workflow. So if I'm in invoices and I'm about ready to send to the customer, maybe I have a button that says like email customer. And right then, when I click that button, okay, then it runs this check like in the background and it says, oh, these two items, you don't have enough in stock. Like stop right there, right? And so instead of giving you a visual indicator, it gives you a warning when it's at that point. Or maybe when you're adding the lines themselves from products, you don't display ones that don't have the quantity, right? It's that type of thing. Maybe you put on here, here's the amount in stock right now, right? Here's the amount available, that type of thing. So if I'm the user and I know that this person needs 50 of something, I'm not going to choose that line because there's not enough available, right? And so you're rethinking the whole workflow instead of relying on conditional formatting to do that for you. Okay. I'm going to stop there. We have 10 minutes left here. I know we probably have some questions.
We have a question about hide. So
Yeah.
is hide faster than conditional formatting? And is conditional formatting with a condition of 1 or 0 faster?
So they're probably the same. I have not done tests on them, okay? But I imagine that they are the difference would be really negligible, okay? It'd be not much at all. Now, the nice thing about the hide condition, okay, let's say that you had this button here, and remember this button is like transparent. But if I made it like this color, okay, by default, what you can do is save yourself one of the conditional formats. Okay. So how do I explain this? If I have this green color, okay, and I can do a hide condition if I don't want it to appear. It's kind of hard to describe. You'd have to you'd have to have a condition that the default is a color that you want the default to be. All right. And then put a hide condition, and that saves you one of the steps here, one of the conditions up here. I'm not describing that properly, but the basic idea is that under certain circumstances, the hide condition is going to be faster if it saves you from having to have three conditions instead of two, right? So
So like you'd write it as like show only if the product is good to sell or something like that. I
yeah,
don't know
something
what
like that.
hmm
Yeah, yep, yep. So that's the basic idea on that. And I don't
hmm
think we have enough time to just like reprogram all of these things to make them cache properly. But just to get your mind going on this
hmm
as to how you would do it, you'd have to have a button or a triggering mechanism that pulls the information from products, puts it in invoices, how you need it, and then because the data is local to the invoices table, then it's going to be very fast. And again, you go from something deathly slow like this to something like this, boom, 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 boom. And you would still have your portal lines lighting up properly. And it would still be very fast that way.
Could you have the cache run in the startup script, or would that be a bad idea?
So on some processes, what you can do is like a nightly thing where invoices that are, say, due that day that weren't due yesterday, they highlight in red or something. And that nightly process could um, help eliminate an unstored calculation. Okay. So I've seen calculations where it's like if today is equal or less than the date due, then display red. Okay. But that really is kind of like an unstored calculation. What you can do is have a nightly process that runs that caches that today's date, something. So, anyways, maybe not the best of examples, but you can run processes in the background
hmm
that kind of cache for you. A lot of times, though, a nightly process is not sufficient because you need the visual indicator right then and there, right? So it depends on what the workflow is and what you need to get done. But this technique is helpful. We've covered a lot of stuff here. Again, the same thing is going to apply to portal filters, where if you're referencing something a table away or two tables away, it's going to be slower every time than referencing local local references. So again, the kind of the checklist is consolidate where possible, hide condition is your friend, okay? Local references, cache where possible, cache is king, and to rethink the workflow in certain cases.
No, that makes good sense. Uh, yeah, good review and food for thought. Thanks, J. Ray. Good ideas here. Thank you for guiding our thinking on conditional formatting. Yeah, this is
All right.
enlightening. I never thought about conditional formatting in terms of jumping across relationships.
Right, right.
So,
So, well, everyone have a great weekend, and it's great seeing you all. And until next time.
yep, thank you, Jonathan.
All right.
I will run the end credits. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Okay. Bye.